Ollie, Jamie and Romy, hello.
Hi.
10 years of the XX. This is really special and it feels right and proper to be here, where you recorded it, same building, 10 years on, talking about this record. How are you feeling about it?
Firstly, we haven't been in this building for a couple of years. It does feel quite special to be here. And it is a real, time warp.
Really?
Yeah. It's been longer than 10 years since we, first came here. We came here when we were about 17. This was, the most exciting place to me in the world.
Do you listen to the record ever? Have you listened to it recently?
Yeah, we listened to it together, to bits of it together. I listened to all three back to back on a road trip I did recently.
What was that like?
It was a lot.
Stressful?
It was very intense, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because also, I don't listen to the things that we do after they're done. And they just sound so different after 10 years, or however long it's been. With all of, even 2 years afterwards, because when you're in it, you're just focusing on all the details. And you just can't hear it as a whole anymore.
Were there things when you did listen back to it, so you listened together, right?
Yeah.
Were there things that jumped out that you'd forgotten about or that surprised you?
So many things. The track listing.
Really?
Yeah, VCR started playing and I was like, I felt like it's been like, they've played it wrong. And I was like, I really didn't want to say it, but then I was wrong. And I thought that was funny. I think we've had it in set lists and all these things have just developed over the years, so. There were so many details. Our voices, Oliver and I were literally cringing because you can really hear our age. It felt like a real looking back at teenage photos, which was great, but obviously then there's a moment when you're like, oh my God, that haircut or something. So it felt like the audio representation of that, which was really, really, really sweet, actually.
I thought it was quite untamed when I listened to it, which is what you want a debut album to be.
Yeah, it was very much just exactly what we were doing at the time. We weren't overthinking it. We were just like, this is exactly what we're doing and we're recording it.
Did you know what you were doing at the time, do you think?
No.
Well, in a way, I mean, yes and no. I think I'm struck by us always having this rule of, and these really strong ideas of we're going to make it exactly what we play live. And that was what we had, this very strong idea, which I look back on now and I'm really glad because it shaped the whole sound, because people were like, why is it's so simple and it's so minimal? And they thought maybe we were going for a real minimalist aesthetic, but we just wanted it to be exactly what was playable live, which was quite simple because we were still learning our instruments and still learning about it all. So it was simple and a bit minimal.
It was probably simple as well because you didn't have the means to pay for loads of equipment.
Yeah.
It's kind of, well, this is what we've got.
Yeah. It was a lot of limitations. It was a lot of accidents as well. Felt like a massive imposter, really massive imposter, because people were like, oh, wow, it must have taken such restraint to have so much space in your music. And we're like, what? There's space in our music? It was... Me and Romy didn't have very loud voices. It didn't make sense to make this huge sound that we couldn't contend with. We were, like Romy said, we were just learning to play our instruments. This was Jamie's first time being producer.
I want to take it back to... I don't want to say the start, because I know that obviously you two have known each other since you were 2 or 3 years old, meeting in a sandpit at nursery. They met you when you were 11, I think. So you've grown up together. But where were you when you said, yes, the XX, let's do this?
It had so many different stages of sort of being, let's do this, and all of them were quite gentle. I think there was, let's do this and let's make a MySpace. For Oliver and I, that was like a moment where we named the band and actually were like, oh, we've got to put a name in. And we made a few songs at home in my living room and put them online. And that just felt like fun. And at that time, we were just best friends, falling in love with music and having a go, doing silly covers and messing around. And there was one night where I had an 8-track recorder, which I got for my birthday, and we made a song called Blood Red Moon, which was a serious song instead of a silly cover. And when I listen to that song now, it has a lot of the elements of the sound that we still love. We tried to re-record it for the first album, but we could never quite capture that feeling.
That song sounds like an in-progress song. It sounds like a band finding their feet. It's great.
I love it for it being that moment in time. And we just could never capture it, so we just left it. But it's, I don't know what that shift was from being sort of funny and like, messing around to that song. And then Jamie was making beats for us. We were then playing it on a CD at gigs. And we'd asked him to drum for us, and he politely declined.
Really? Why?
Well, I wasn't very good at drumming.
Is this real drums? Or
Yeah, like
virtual
real drums. And these guys were already doing something that was like pretty special. I could tell already. Yeah, I didn't think that it would fit, and I think I was right. So when I got a sampler for my birthday, that was when I went along to a rehearsal and just started playing along, and it kind of seemed to fit and flow a lot better.
That was the MPC, right?
Yeah.
I kind of want to flip it back a little bit and talk about the covers that you did. What songs did the first version of the XX cover? Can you remember?
Wham! Wake Me Up Before You Go.
Wow.
Yeah.
In what style?
I don't know.
You know, singing in front of your friend, it was much easier to seem like you were doing it with a sense of humour. So it was always a bit jokey, it was always a bit fun. You know, if we went straight into like singing songs, pouring our like hearts out, it would have been too much. So we were just doing, fun covers with like no desire to play it to anyone else.
Do you still have those recordings?
Yeah.
Put them out.
No, never.
Come on.
You got them? I want to hear them.
Yeah, I've got them. No,
Oh my God.
I'm not even going to send them to you.
So Jamie, what was it like for you coming into this friendship group which already existed, and obviously you're great friends now as a three-piece? I think you'll be together forever. You'll be intertwined forever. It's clear that you are very at ease with each other. But as an early teenager, seeing these two people who were kind of like siblings in a way, was that difficult to crack and get in there yourself?
Well, I mean, I wasn't really looking at it as something to crack into. I just met these guys that we got along with, and like it was nice because there weren't that many people at school that I felt like I really wanted to hang out with. I actually met Ollie on the like induction day before school had even started, and I thought I liked the look of that guy because we both were in art, and he made a really good picture or something.
Really?
That's cute.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like my people.
What did you guys think about Jamie, first of all?
I thought he was cute. He was so sweet. And I used to be taller than Jamie. We have a really good photo of that.
Really?
And then I always remember when you came in with a shaved head one day. And I think the hairdresser had just given you a bit of a
Yeah, it was a
severe
bad
haircut.
day.
A bit so sweet, because like all these curls and they were gone. I think what was nice is that we had individual friendships with Jamie. So I remember really, me and Jamie shared a love for skateboarding, and we would go out at weekends and we would skate around London, and that was something that we had together. And music through skateboard videos was a massive thing. That Jamie played me some videos, and then in that was Portishead, The Cure, Mazzy Star, some hugely like pivotal moments of hearing music from skate videos. So we really shared that. And then Oliver and Jamie had their own, and then we all hung out as well. So that was really nice.
So when you get to 2008, 2007, and you create that MySpace profile and you put those songs up and you start working together as a three-piece, when you write your first few songs and then suddenly you get these songs that did appear on the debut album, because some of those songs are old, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, VCR is definitely one of those very early ones that was made on the 8-track.
How old were you?
16.
60, yeah.
A lot of these songs were written through what would even be their like messaging platform? iMessage, iChat, that's the one.
Oh yeah.
Remember that one?
AIM and iChat and stuff like that.
Yeah. Of just like not wanting to even be in the same room as one another. It's just like share it, put it in an iChat, and just like as far away from like eye contact as possible.
It was safer to write separately and share it from afar than it was to sit in a room together like and look at each other like this and be like, this is how I feel and this is what I want to say. And then once we'd sent it back and forward and it was feeling like a song, then we'd meet up and play it and flesh it out.
So when you have
with
that
Jamie.
finished song, when you have something like VCR, which approaches what we hear now, how did that make you feel?
I seem to remember hearing it for the first time in a bar called Inigo. in Battersea when I went to watch them do one of their first shows. And yeah, I was just very impressed and also very jealous.
Really?
Jealous.
Jealous.
No, I mean, I was also making music in my bedroom, but I was like impressed that you'd got on stage, because I just didn't think that was something that any of us would ever do. And also jealous that you had the guts to do that, and I didn't.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, it was awesome. Literally awesome to see.
There's two funny things that I think about the XX at this point, and one is that you kind of started out as a trad indie band with thoughts of live drums, covering yeah, yeah, yeahs and things like that, distortion, and then at some point the MPC comes in, low-end frequencies come in, R&B, elements of that, kind of, everything is thrown in. And I think in doing that, you were one of the first bands of that time in the UK to suddenly step away from what was popular and say, no rules, anything goes. And I think that really paid off. And the other thing is that writing these songs that were so personal to you, the ironic thing about that is that in 2009, when this record came out and it became so big, these personal songs suddenly became everybody else's songs. If you were of a certain age in 2009, you connected to those songs, which must have been strange for you when you have that realization of like, wow, these have traveled, these tunes.
You know, our experience of like meeting fans now, and it kind of has been from the beginning, it's very rarely, what's this song about? It's, this song means this to me because of this. And I think that's the one rule that we did have in the beginning. I suppose just kind of keep it as universal as possible. So there was no time, there was no place, there was no he or she. Firstly, we wanted to, you know, when we were playing these gigs, there was a chance the person that one of these songs was about would be in the audience. So you've got to kind of protect yourself a bit. But also, you know, if people were ever going to listen to this music, wherever they were, kind of wanted them to be able to identify and kind of fit their experiences to it, because that's what I do when I listen to music.
So did you ever get confronted by anyone who you had written a song about?
Oh, you might have.
That sounds like a yes.
I mean, how do I say this? I was maybe writing a little bit more from experience than Oliver, but I definitely have these memories of being like sitting in my bedroom, like, how can I say this? I know this person is going to be in the audience, but I really want to express what I feel. I really don't want them to know exactly that I'm singing to them. So, you know, and the songs were written in that way, and the songs were written with the idea that 6 people in a pub were going to hear them. So, yeah, it's unbelievable the way it travelled, and that's my favourite thing, that something so personal to us, that was just a way to get through some teenage emotions, has then become something that people connect to.
And we're sat here now in the home of XL in West London. The studio where you recorded the record is downstairs. When you come back here and you see that room again, what runs through your head?
How small it is. And how, you know, we were 4 of us in the band at the time, and Roddy McDonald, who co-produced it. So that's 5 of us, plus lots of people that were coming in and out. It's tiny, it's like half the size of this room, but we were just happy to be there. We didn't know any different.
Because the office was still here as well, so there's people working, right?
Yeah, and now it's kind of cornered off so the studio is more private, but there was a window where they could look in at you, like a goldfish, and be like, oh yeah, they're working. But Jamie had quite an extreme experience with that window.
So I would like work in here from like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m, finishing production bits and like mixing it and stuff. One night, like in the middle of delirium at 4 a.m. or something, I looked through that little goldfish window and there was a guy with a ski mask on. But I didn't think anything of it because I thought I'm insane by now. And I just went back to working. And a couple of minutes passed and I just looked back and there was nobody there. And I went out into the main bit and there were like 5 massive guys with ski masks on, holding computers. And they all saw me and just ran out the door, luckily.
No.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I didn't manage to save the computers, but...
They ran out with the computers.
Yeah, but you saved the album, though.
That's true, yeah.
Because if you hadn't been there, then they would have taken the album.
Yeah.
That is an insane story. Please tell me you went back to work after that and were just like, nah, whatever.
I called the police and then hid in the studio until they came.
Whoa, that's blown my
can't-
mind. I've never heard that
brave.
before. That's West London. Let's face facts. What do you remember about the sights and sounds of London at that point? Because presumably you would have been going out to gigs. I remember it being quite a vibrant time and quite an exciting time in London. What do you think?
I recognise it was now, in like retrospect. We were gigging with like Florence, Mumford & Sons, Wild Beasts, Metronomy. And I don't think I like fully like appreciated it at the time, but it was a scene. There was no link between the music we were making, but there was just a lot of exciting things happening.
I heard that you went to Carnival during the making of it, came back and thought, yes, let's put some sub bass on, let's make.
That was a strange experience because we were working with Diplo at the time.
Yeah. He did a few sessions that
We did a few sessions with him, which were really fun. But we'd like walked around with him around Carnival. We'd like taken a break, and then we were like, oh, that kind of like really deep bass that you feel. How do we like bring that into what we're doing? So we came here. And he knows how to do that to an extreme. You know, I think like those sessions we did with other producers were like so valuable because, in the kindest way, it taught us kind of not what to do.
Presumably you must bump into him on the road and you must have met in the 10 years since then. When you go for a session with somebody like that and then you do see them again, is it awkward? Do you just get over it and carry on?
It's not awkward. It's funny to see him now, like, dancing on the turntables. Because, I mean, I guess, like, in the studio, he wasn't being a massive character. But definitely when we went out to Carnival and we actually saw him DJ at Carnival, it was cool to see, like, those different sides.
When the record did come out, and it's August the 19th, 2009, things went crazy fairly quickly. I think, I got some stats, I think within 6 months, you'd sold 250,000 copies worldwide. You sold out every single show that you put on sale after the album came out.
Wow.
In those 6 months, which is amazing. The Mercury Prize came a year later when you won that. You had that thing where people like Courtney Love and Sienna Miller and Michael Stipe would turn up to shows. You're still 19, 20 years old at this point, fresh out of school. How did you cope with that?
I don't know. It's a blur to me. That time period of that 1 year between the album coming out and the Mercury Prize feels about 2 years long, for sure. And I feel like the growth that we all did in as humans, confidence-wise, putting in so many different situations we never would have been in, meeting people, being on a stage in front of 50 people, then being on a stage in front of, like, Coachella. We walked out and it was like thousands of people and we were just like, what on earth is going on? So we just had to learn to adapt really quickly. Being together, that really helped. But it was crazy.
How important was winning the Mercury? When you look back at it now, obviously you get a cash prize of 20 grand, which I think you put into the next record.
Yeah.
9 years on from that, what did it do for the XX as a band?
I'd always followed the Mercuries. I remember being introduced to like Anthony the Johnsons. It was always something I like followed. I remember when we got nominated, I realised, I suppose, like what a big deal it was. We were just kind of on this like high where I suppose it wasn't all sinking in. Like once we had like won, we did like a month's worth of touring, and then we came home and we kind of celebrated for like a year. Yeah, we were constantly on the move. There never was that opportunity to really like take in all that was happening.
Amazing highs, but I imagine there would have been lows as well. I imagine Barrier leaving the band, who you formed the band with. She recorded on the first album. She played a fair few shows with you and then left before you played Village Underground, which at that point was your biggest gig. How much of a blow was that, looking back?
Such a strange thing to deal with, because we suddenly had all of these shows and we had to find out how to do it as a three. And it'd been a four, it'd been like four friends, and it was now just going to be the three of us.
I guess there's no going back, is there? When you've already started and you've got to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was right before the gig at Village Underground. And so then Jamie became We learned he was ambidextrous in that sense. Like you managed to just do it all, and I'm so grateful in all of that because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to play the show. Jamie just was able to play the MPC and the keyboard.
I sort of half managed, scraped through.
But of course, you know, like she's our childhood friend, like teenage friend, and like we have a lot of love for her, and you know, it's not nice when things don't work out in that way, and yeah, I feel like she needs to be really acknowledged in this whole talking about the first album because she's a massive part of it.
Have you seen her since, or did it just end?
Kind of feels a bit like some sort of like an end of a romantic relationship in a way. You kind of just have your space, and then there's those sort of, you know, soreness but love, you know. And it's just there's been a lot of space. We're due a reconnection, I think, but you know, there's a lot of love there, and we wish her really well.
I have some pop questions. Jamie, what's your favourite song on the record?
I think it might be Nighttime because it's like it reminds me specifically of a lot of music that we were listening to together, something that we all liked because we all had our zones in music, and that was something we came together to like. And personally, it was also the thing that I'd like made in my bedroom to show these guys that I could do the album. So yeah, I put a lot of effort into it. Yeah, it was actually in here that I came and played it to you lot and Caius after we'd worked with Diplo and that lot. And I was like, I can do it.
I don't remember that, well, it worked.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, very nervous. It was received well, but also we were still going to work with some other people, but I'm so glad we did because I learned so much from that.
Really?
Yeah.
Ollie, what's your favourite lyric on the record?
Oh, I think the opening line from Stars, I can give it all on the first date, which is just pure teenage desperation and obsessiveness, which is like, that is me in that stage. And that kind of sums it up.
Romy, your question is, if you could dedicate the album to anybody now, who would it be?
Oh, God. Dedicate, I mean, dedicate... I don't know. I feel like it's very much our snapshot of our friendship. I think to dedicate it to anyone else, I think it's just like to our awkward teenage selves, probably.
Here's the thing, right? When I first started reading about you and seeing you live and met you, did a couple of interviews with you around the time when you were just starting out, you were, and I think this is by your own admission as well, you were shy people. Now I interview you and you're pop stars who headline festivals, who work with rappers, who work in fashion. All of these things have happened to you over the last 10 years. You've travelled so far as three human beings, further than most people would in a lifetime, I think. And I kind of want to know what the three of you in 2019 would say to the three of you in 2009.
It's difficult because I wouldn't want to interrupt where we were because I'm really content with where we are. It's funny because, you know, with the birthday of the album coming up, I've just been so nostalgic for the past couple of weeks. I got one of the old Mac chargers to open up my teenage laptop for the first time. And I'm very much reconnecting with my teenage self at the moment. Part of me is kind of craving that mindset, but then also just being oh no, I don't want to be there again because everything was the end of the world. Yeah, I'm just kind of, I suppose, well done to us, because the thing that I'm really asking myself is where did this drive and determination come from, especially in terms with gigging. We gigged a lot.
Yeah, same. I'm really glad we did that. And I think that as a person, you talked about travelling around the world and everything. You know, I was scared of flying at 18 and all these things. I probably would have been maybe I just won't travel that much. Maybe I'll just be in London. And I think where it's taken us and all the things we've done so far out of our comfort zone is because of the band. So I'm really grateful for that. I
mean, I think I already know the answer to this question. You're going to be around in 10 years' time, aren't you? Talking about 20 years of this record?
Yeah, definitely.
there's this slight feeling right now about like talking about the past 10 years and like the beginning and stuff. I still feel like we're really figuring stuff out, and we've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
There isn't this like feeling of like I'm this like we're these seasoned performers and artists. It's we've come a long way, but I think there's a long way to go.
We're just getting started.
Yeah.